Hey guys, what's up? It's the Signal Path Podcast, and today's guest I have with me,
Sean Wright from Lollygagger Effects.
nice, my favorite lollygagger. All
Join our challenges. The Signal Path.
All right, guys, welcome to the Signal Path. Always, we're trying to have fun with gear, and today is my favorite lollygagger. Name of Sean Wright with Lollygagger Effects. How you doing, man?
I'm doing really good. Just trying to stay warm up here in the blizzards of northern Michigan.
Oh wow, you guys getting snow and not the sleet?
Yeah,
I hear you,
snow
man.
and sleet.
Yeah, in March too.
That's crazy. We hardly had any of it all winter, but now we're getting paid back in spades. So,
Oh, okay, I got you, man. So for the guys at TSP that may not know your cherry box or your canaglia that you guys make, but you guys have such a great wooden enclosure. I'm gonna let you describe your effects.
okay, yeah, cool. We started Lollygagger about 12 years ago, and we really didn't ramp it up till about maybe 7 years ago. I've always built pedals. I've done tons of repairs. I've even roadied. And I got to a point where I wanted to start doing some designs I had in my head that were pertinent to what I wanted to see. So that being said, our first pedal, our flagship, the Canalia, was my first idea. And I knew a guy, he's actually a friend of mine, he's out in California. He kind of hit me up about the same time I was thinking about this idea. And he's like, dude, do you ever think about putting your stuff in a wooden enclosure? I'm like, yeah, I thought about it, but I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't have any tools or anything. And he says, well, I got like the Norm Ingram shop. He says, let me put something together. He sent this in. This is number one.
Oh wow.
Of course, first I forgot to tell him that I needed to be able to put the 1/4-inch jacks. So they're usually like a 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch thick. So this one never went into service, but this is my mounting block when I'm doing pots and stuff. So he sent it to me and it's like, okay, that's really cool, but I forgot to tell you some things. We worked around and we got design pretty much like we use today. And then when we came out with the cherry box, we decided we wanted to continue, at least for the time being, doing wood enclosures. And I wanted to make it a different type of shape to kind of separate it from the Canalia, even though they're both wood. And that's how that one came out.
Nice.
So we just me and my wife. She's a beauty. I'm the beast. She does all the coloring and all the nice stuff. I do circuits and stuff, and I will do lacquer just so she doesn't have to do it because it's kind of nasty.
Yeah. So you gave me this really interesting video last year, and speaking of like the cherry box and everything, actually the cherry box was on our very first Fuzz War, if you remember.
Yep, I do remember that.
That was way back. And then some of the guys were asking, I was like, how do you build an enclosure of wood? That won't last, blah, blah, blah. And you proved them wrong with this video. It's almost near a dump truck running over the wooden block enclosure.
Well, yeah, I mean, and when we first came out, and I totally understood it. It wasn't like a situation where I'm like, I don't understand how you don't get this. Yeah, I mean, so wooden enclosure and had it designed with my input, it would be roadworthy. So it's CNC'd, and the inside of it, it's not quite like this one because we changed some things, but you see how we got that there's bracing and stuff in there.
Yeah,
that's how we decided we would be able to get over the part of it being durable. And after about 5 or 6 inquiries. I just got a little annoyed. So I went outside with one of my closures and I ran it over with my car. Well, I actually parked it on top of my car on top of one. And after that, everyone was pretty cool. And like, okay, it's obviously, roadworthy. And we make sure that they're RF treated inside as well. So that's not a problem either. So it's a very functional, beautiful, working, sounding great pedal.
Awesome, dude. So you said you roadied a bit, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of equipment over the days, but what are some of your favorite amps and pedals and guitars and such?
I'm a Strat guy. I've been a Strat guy since I got into rock and roll, and it was Hendrix, Blackmore, and then it went into Jimmy Page, and then it went into Gary Moore at the time. Gary Moore was using Strats. So I've just always been a Strat guy. I have no problem with Les Pauls or any other type of guitars. It's just a Strat works for me for how I play. Nice. And in terms of amplifiers, I'm as far as I'm concerned, that is one of the number one amps ever being made. Naylor Engineering.
Okay.
I worked with them. I worked for them for a short term in the '90s, early '90s, and but I like most of the boutique stuff is really good. I mean, Dr. C's great. Yeah, name it. I mean, a lot of I don't. As long as it's designed so it's sturdy. In this day and age, most amps are able to be used as pedal platforms for the most part, with the exception of things like, dual Rex or anything really high gain that has a tendency for most pedals not to work real well with, except if you're going to boost the front end, with a 808 type or TSI type pedal. But so yeah, that's really it. And pedals, I'm a vintage guy. I mean, and I'm not a vintage guy like I quote unquote get nice stuff. I just like really messed up stuff that looks weird, makes weird noises, and I want to kind of discover things. That's why one of the reasons why I put out the Cherry Box is it's such a bizarre circuit and it can do so many weird things. It covered everything I needed it to do. My concern was I had to try to sell it for other people if they needed it too. But yeah, we're doing great. It's stuff's going well. As you probably well know, in the last year and a half, builders we're going crazy.
Yeah. And I even seen the Cherry Box even like on the JHS show. So that's a pretty cool shout out to have.
Yeah, the Canalia and the Cherry Box. And he was super. Josh is a great guy, super nice guy. Told me, he's like, hey, I'm going to have you on. I'm like, oh, cool. I didn't even know. And he did on live, which was really super cool. So he could kind of mess around and people could ask questions or whatever. Yeah, that really kind of broke the water per se for us in terms of getting lots of multiple orders. We've always got orders, but they come in 2 at a time, 4 at a time. That kind of jump started us like, oh, I guess this isn't really a hobby. It's more of a business. So, but yeah, we're grateful. It worked out well.
Yeah. So you were talking about things like boutique, and I actually had what I considered for the longest time a boutique pedal.
It is a boutique pedal.
Yeah, and you literally talked me off my board, actually.
You know what? It's a great pedal. I just think there's stuff out there that, in my opinion, and what I play, I think there's stuff that's out there that works a little better.
Yeah.
But I mean, opinions and preferences, we all have them. They're all different.
Yeah, man. So I was just putting a joke on the boutique part, but I actually got something in the mail today. So I'm actually doing an unboxing with you at the same time. But
oh, sweet. Cool.
If you want to talk Tube Screamers, I'm actually pulling this out. This is actually the TS7.
No, man. That's that is starting to become like a underground. Everyone's getting into it. I mean, it's not price wise, it's not there, but
Yeah.
yeah, the Tone Lock series really super estimated in terms of what it could do. Now,
Yeah,
me and
this is
you,
the
you
thing
know,
everybody complained about. This part right here was
yeah,
the push pots, but I
yeah, and
loved it.
like,
Like Corn had that ad, and seeing Head
yeah,
and Monkey with
yeah,
the tube screamer. Oh my goodness, that's what got me.
yeah. Well, and those guys when they started out, they were really crazy into weird vintage pedals. You've heard about the bigger muff, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
I mean, they just just some dude that they knew just kind of threw together a big muff circuit and then put like a tube preamp driver into it, and they used that on a lot of their albums. But so they were really into using lots of different effects. I don't know about now, but at least back in the day.
yeah, but I got this pedal from a good friend of mine that I just started sharing some podcasts with. His name's Will Lehue from the Just Surprise Me boys.
I know Will. Will and me are good friends.
Nice. So thanks, Will. I appreciate it. Also, a shout out to my boys that Just Surprise Me as well.
Yep.
So the other boutique things, this is a hot button right now. Is I have a
Yeah.
Gray
Yep.
Box 250, and it's got the 741 chip that everybody covets. The biggest thing about some of these boutique things that guys don't know about is I have to use a lot of deoxit to keep that thing alive.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's one thing. And then we have like all my favorite small builders. They make just like some of the craziest stuff. But this is Bill Yale from Squidworks. His transparent overdrive.
Yeah. I know him. He's a cool dude. Yeah. He makes. I'm on a private room club board with mainly just pedal builders, but there was some demo people and some podcast people on as well. And so pedal community has always been like very tight. We're real friendly with each other. We help each other out. Nobody's, at least the group that I hang out with, nobody's trying to snipe other people's ideas. It's like I had an idea for a pedal, and I thought, you know what, this might be up Tim from a Master Effects. This might be up his alley. So I asked him. I said, are you doing RG 100? Doing the Randall? And he goes, yeah, I got one out. And I went, okay, cool. My hands are off it. I'm not going to do anything with it.
Yeah, that's cool. With the pedal community and stuff. For me, I don't know if you remember the old group Guitar Pedals that I was in, but I helped build that group to like 18,000 something members at one point, and was just sharing the
Yeah.
mess out of it, and was being that helpful, friendly guy. And I was like, you know what, I could do this. And so when we started the Signal Path, and you were one of our founding members as well, that helped jump in there and just started adding people. And
Well, the thing that you did that was really cool is you made, they're not, most of the boards are not really interactive. I mean, there's plenty of cool boards out there that you can get on there and have discussions, but you doing the pedal wars and you doing, questionnaires and stuff like that, you are always trying to bring people in and be part of it as opposed to just being a member. And when I snuck over there, I was, doing some stalking for a little while. And I was like, no, this is a cool group. And so yeah, I jumped in as soon as I could.
yeah, and I appreciate it. And usually you guys always spoke up on what's trending, what's good, what's not
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
And I know a lot of guys like the standard equipment. And for us, we did that first fuzz war, and that's when I found out you really didn't like the big muff pie because it's more distortion.
It's, I have to, I'll be funny online, but it's a fine pedal. But the thing is, my problem with it is it's not really a fuzz. It's a distortion pedal.
Yeah.
And B, you can get a big muff to sound great in your bedroom.
Yeah.
But once you go out and you have a bass player is in low hertz and you got another guitar player, and now they're not gonna hear you. They're not gonna hear your pedal. So like one of the big things is all these guys that did clones. they did like a mid control or they did like a mid boost. My buddy Alec at MAE, his Black Math is, I mean, it's an awesome pedal. I all my friends that make um, clones, or I shouldn't say clones, they're taking the aspect of the frame of the Big Muff,
Yeah.
and what they did is that they put a lot of the circuitry that they thought, well, this should be in this pedal, and a lot of them are really great.
Yeah, and everybody's kind of got a hot take on their Big Muff, and like Blake at Tomob worked with Bigger, got that and I just heard the whole story about it, how they did the triangle muff, and that's like
Yeah,
one of the most revered ones, and it's got their take on it. There's like the Ram's Head, there's a bunch of them out there, and a lot of people love that pedal. So when you came on there, it was like, I don't like the Big Muff, and realized it was the Big Muff Pie. I thought that was funny.
yeah.
But yeah, but
Oh,
I
well,
always like that contrasting adult, argument. I wouldn't say argument,
yeah,
but banter where,
discussion. Yeah,
yeah, and that's where
yeah,
we try to keep it all friendly there at TSP, and
yeah.
that was the
And I
whole
think that's cool. Yeah, I always thought that was cool, I'm not going to go on there and be on anybody because they like something. Uh, if that has ever appeared to be that way, that's not my intention at all. I have my opinions. You know how I feel about tube screamers, and you know how I feel about Big Muffs. But they work for people, and people buy them. I just sometimes, if I'm in a cranky mood and someone's praising the joys of the Big Muff, I poke in and say, "Yeah, it's a great pedal in your bedroom."
Yeah, so I know we have fun on there talking about that, but right now, like, what is exactly your favorite pedal? I would say.
I you know what? Um, well, I got two of them. One you'll never see the light of day of because
Oh
it's
wow.
special. And dang it! And actually, I have three. Okay, this one right here.
It's okay to
This
have
one
more than
right
one.
here. Yeah, no, these are really. I was just talking about like funky, weird. This is from Dirge Electronics, and he does this slowly melting, and it's a fuzz, but
Okay.
it's not a fuzz. It's a delay, and because he overclocked things, and his thing is messed up. Actually, I should send this to you and have you play with it. You would be blown away at how messed up it is, but it's messed up in a good way.
Is it a PT
This is the one.
2399 overclocked?
What? Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Okay.
I haven't looked inside. I probably should. And this is probably my all-time favorite right now.
Oh, what is that?
This is the Ululu, and my good friend Chris from Dusky Electronics made up like four of these. He was going to take the guts that were in these. He had about 3 or 4 years ago, some guys had a guitar company say, "Hey, can you make some of your pedal boards and be able to put them in the guitar?" So he came up with the designs and stuff. Well, it fell through. So he had the boards laying around. So if you know anything about Dusky, that's the Hypatia, which he has a pedal out there.
Okay.
And then that's the Octomotron, and he also has that one out there. So essentially, he's got these pedals out, but to have them in the enclosure themselves with a preamp,
Oh wow.
I just love this pedal. It's very cool, and there's only four.
That's his like
I got one.
sampler.
Yeah, pretty much. I got one. Mike from Tontuga's got one.
Nice.
I sent one. I got two of them. My job was keep one and pass it down the other one. Move it forward. So a friend of mine got the other one, and Chris, he's keeping one. So yeah, I just love this pedal. It's just awesome. And I don't have it right now, but I really like the Chippy and Lecky Swan Hunter.
Okay.
It's such a great delay, and again, these people coming up with weird kind of ideas how to do something that people have been doing, but they've kind of been like cookie cutter in a way. most of my friends, they just do really bizarre stuff.
Yeah.
And so those pedals are really on my high list right now. What are you digging lately?
Man, well, you know me, I've been a fan of Little River Customs with Nathan Hanna,
Yeah,
big
they do
time.
great stuff. They do
He-
great stuff.
he's a mad scientist too, and I've always kind of dug the mad scientist guys. Justice Gash is another one, and I
Mm-hmm.
think he's playing around with fuzz, maybe even a fuzz delay or something. At one point, I was
Mm.
watching one of his lives. Rylan Morgan with Scattered Work. He was working on the Angry Alpaca, and that's kind of like your Jack White kind of fuzz. That was the pink enclosure one that he had. So I got to play around with
Oh,
those. Yeah. And I know a
cool.
lot of these guys, I know a lot of them talk fuzz, and fuzz has always been a key role with pedal builders because that's their first circuits that they learn how to work with, and it's always
Yeah.
fun. But fuzz is like ice cream flavors. There's many of them, but everybody loves
Well,
ice
that's
cream.
yeah, and that's the thing about I try to tell people about fuzz is like people will see somebody who has like 20 fuzzes and they'll just say, "You got 4 overdrives and 20 fuzzes," and I try to explain that there are only so many things you can do with an overdrive circuit. I mean, really, I mean, the whole reason why you have an overdrive is you want to be able to goose your amp and maybe add a little bit of color or character in there, but you don't stray either way too far from that. Now, fuzzes, you can have bloom type fuzzes, you can have Velcro type fuzzes, you can have distortion type fuzzes, or you can, and then you could do feedback and oscillation type fuzzes. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like one of those things. Once everyone makes one, and the parts make a difference too in terms
Mm-hmm.
of, if you're like, well, I'm going to tune it to this value instead of the original value, you'd be surprised how much things will change in that.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's why we all like fuzz.
Yeah, especially like starving voltages or adding a tone
Oh
stack
yeah,
here and changing clipping here and that kind of thing. But for
yeah.
me, I mean, I always liked because I was always a high gain player before I
Mm.
ever came down and learned about single coil guitars eventually. That fuzzes was where it's at with the single coil guitars. I was like, oh, okay, so that's how they got high gain. Because I was like, how does Jimi Hendrix make like such high gain distortion in a plexi or whatever? I was like,
Yep.
the dude's just nuts. Like, I thought there was something going on in the guitar. It took me years to figure out. Oh, that's a fuzz pedal. I would have never known. So
There's
it took.
a there's there's a video of him. I think it's in Stockholm. It's black and white, and I think they're. I don't know what. I can't remember what song he plays. Anyway, he plays the song through the plexi, and it's weird because it sounds really super clean, you know. And then they go to another song, and he kicks on the fuzz, and that really kind of, yeah, like you said, it's like, oh, now I get it. Now I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah. I thought it was like a 2 channel amp because I was like, well, he's switching to high gain, but I didn't realize it was a fuzz pedal the whole time. Because I mean, it
Yeah.
did look like a mic stand.
Well, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's where they got the
That's
idea for the bass. But
yeah.
he had a very limited pedal board too, and it was isolated because everything was battery and that kind of thing or whatever. But
Well, and he had the pedals that really made a difference. I mean, that to this day, everyone has a fuzz. You know, almost everyone has a wah. And when he went and did the octave thing, not everyone does that, but you could take those 3 pedals, and then you can also put in the shining the
the vibe,
the vibe.
yeah,
Those 4 pedals, that's, in my opinion, that's all you need. I mean,
yeah.
I know people like reverb and I know people like delay, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But he did so much with so little.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people that complain about, man, if I only had this, I could write better songs. Or, man, if my guitar was only a better guitar. And I just want to say, well, hey, Kurt Cobain had really crappy guitars. He played through crappy amps. How many people bought the second album? Never
Yeah.
mind. everyone bought that album. It's not about the equipment you have, they're tools. You know, like my guitar here, it's all beat up, you know, and I didn't beat it up on purpose. It's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I'm done, I throw it over to the side, and that's how you got to look at it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you wanting to take care of your equipment as such, but it's a tool, and people need to start looking at these things as tools.
Yeah, I look at it as art. That's a lot for me too. What you're saying is the whole less is more thing. Obviously, with all the crazy enclosures I have, I really went for the art side of it because I like stuff that's unique, but more importantly, I have more sentimental value in my gear that of who it came from. And that matters more to me. The people that make the equipment matter more to me than the piece that, you know, that is the tool and that kind of thing. And with Jimmy, with his 4 pedal board, he had one of everything pretty much out at the time. So
yeah.
back in that day, he had the biggest pedal board.
Yeah, he pretty did. Well, it's stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you a big pedal board guy? Like, you know, you got to have the space station in front of you, or you really got to have like your minimalist setup?
No, my pedal board's like 2. It's like 2 by 1.5. All I need is, and well, I think I told you this a while ago, is I kind of never been a big reverb or delay guy, but I got all the dirt I ever want. And I kind of had the epiphany that the reason I may not like or not be good at reverb or delays because you have to play a certain way to have a reverb or delay. And I don't play that way. So I started getting into the delays and reverbs, and you just kind of have to, you know, it's like a different car. You just got to learn how to drive it. It's like, there was a guy who was saying, I just can't do fuzz. And he's like doing palm muted, really heavy stuff fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuzz is not going to help you out, my friend. You know.
Yeah.
And and that's fine for him. That's cool. But he didn't get it. Why he didn't get it? You know what I mean?
And I came from that camp. I was like, fuzz. Like, I have a mezzo boogie. Why would I need a fuzz pedal? Like, you know, it did all the roaring high gain, and plus it had tighter chugs. And I didn't realize fuzz makes you play to it where you have sag. So that's why Black Sabbath makes more of the doom, and why so many people play like doom metal and stuff, and why they're so fuzz heavy. It's for the high gain.
Yeah. I mean, and if the way that I've joked about it, it plays you just as much as you play it, depending on what fuzz you have. I mean, it's almost a instrument in itself. You know, it's like you got your hands on a wildcat, and you're trying not to get bit, and you're trying to also get away at the same time.
God, that reminds me of that guy that picked up that bobcat. It's like, it's a bobcat. It's a bobcat.
Yeah, I know.
That was on YouTube, what, like a year ago? I was dying.
Yeah.
I was showing my wife, you got to see this. This dude was like nuts. He was trying to protect his family, but you do what it takes, man. Like you're talking about playing wise. You literally pick up the bobcat and you go, it's a bobcat. Like,
yeah, I mean,
explains fuzz a lot right there.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, man. So, you know, being somewhat a medium board guy, because I'm not the space station, I'm not the smallest board, I'm not the biggest board. If I'm not stepping on it for the gig, I'm taking it off the board. And that's kind of what you're saying in a lot of ways is it's what you play. And for me, playing country, blues, and rock with Rust Bucket as a gig, I noticed that when we play a lot of the covers that we play, I tried to do the homework behind the song. If it's Bryan Adams or something, I was like, crap, I need like an 80s chorus. And of course, like Prince or something, I didn't have a whole lot of boss pedals, but that Terraform is covering a lot of modulation for me. So modulation wise, I think I'm set. Just with that, I don't need all the tap dancing, and delays is what got me started on the pedal board. Like I was totally against pedal boards like pre 2010.
Oh yeah,
like, it's all in your hands. That's what I would tell everybody that played. I was like, you know, if you can't play it, you're not a guitar player, you know, kind of thing. I was like, you're a keyboard player if you have a pedal board. So I was making fun of these guys, and then I had to learn the hard way when I got to my 30s. I was like, oh, okay, the pedal board is really so you can fill up space. And space is important in a song. And then I realized with the delay, I'm like, oh, okay, that's why this sounds like this, is because the delay's doubling it as slapback. So I always liked that echo, but I never knew what it was. And I started
Yeah.
digging into surf tones and all the worship music and that kind of stuff. And I realized that, oh, this is a delay. So delay really got me started on the whole pedal board journey, I would say. But overall, amps matter, guitars matter, pedals matter. It's just you use them like tools and just
Hmm.
do what it takes.
Yeah, and I am a great proponent of guitar chord amp. I mean, if that's what's rocking your world, yeah, that's perfectly fine. I mean, I was like that for a long time. I mean, even doing repairs and working for music companies and stuff. I had a Marshall half stack. I had a Strat. I don't have it now, and I just I jam. I jam. I was like, this is great. This is all I need. And if I wanted a little reverb, there was a little reverb in there, and I, but even to this day, when I do reverb, you can barely hear it. I just do it so it fills out, so it
Hmm.
doesn't your signal doesn't sound so dead.
Yeah, you make
But
a room feel, as they call it, right?
yeah, exactly. But
I
yeah,
used
I
to
mean,
I
I'm
used to
I'm cool
joke
either way.
I used to joke about reverb. I'm like, reverb, that's the sound guy's job. So I would always throw it on the sound guy to make me sound good. But I was like,
Oh, you never
why would I
never
need
rely on
reverb?
the sound guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
never rely on the sound guy.
that was my youth speaking. I was like, the sound
Yeah, it's
guy's gonna
funny.
make me sound good. Like that was
Yeah,
what we thought anyways. But
yeah. Well,
I was like, why
some
would
of
I need
them.
reverb on an amp? Like I played a lot of amps that didn't have reverb. So I got used to that dry
Yeah.
signal so much. But they told me I was a studio dream because they could just add whatever because I had such a dry tone. And then they told
Oh yeah, they afterwards. Yeah, let's slow down. Yeah.
yeah, and then they told me I needed a compressor. I'm like, compressor? Like, what does that even do? So I'm still trying to figure out what a compressor does, even after learning.
Uh, dude, okay. You want to make my number third list of things that I could care less about? Compressors.
Compression,
I
yeah,
I get it. If I was Brad Paisley, yeah, I'd have to have a compressor because the way he plays and the reaction that he wants to get, you can't do that without a compressor.
yeah,
But here's my thing: if you're playing dirt, if you're a dirt player, there's absolutely no reason you need a compressor, in my humble opinion.
yeah.
But if you're
That
playing, you're
natural amp compression, when
yeah,
yeah, and I did that with high gain amps. I didn't realize I was making my own squish because of high gain,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and
and fuzz does that too. I mean,
yeah,
it gives you enough of a, like I said, a more bloom type thing, and kind of sound the same purpose. But if you want clean stuff, you obviously can't do that.
yeah. So that's something else I learned with fuzz was the rollback. So that was the other thing was like rolling the volume back. So like on a strat is almost like in a perfect position, but I've been doing it on the telly too.
Yep.
And that's helping what they call cleanup, I guess. And it took me a
Well,
while because it was either
well,
all the way up or all the way down. That's how the volume worked for me.
I'm the same way. And the thing about turning down is that you probably have noticed this. It's not even a question of you're cleaning up your tone. There are many, many guitarists who love that tone. You know, the tone of the guitar being toned down, having the fuzz come through. It's like got a bright, and not like a bright like ice pick. It's got a bright, clean, clear chime to it. And
Mm.
there are people that will swear all day long about I keep my fuzz face on all the time. And depending on what I'm playing, I'll just roll back the volume or
Yeah.
roll it back up.
And I know if you guys like at like Jason Suter at PJ and the beard himself, he uses a volume rollback, and I started paying attention to why he did it. And he said for the blues jam, man, because you don't know if you need to be wide open or not. And that was the solo button.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then I
Cool.
think even like TPS on that pedal show that they explained why rollback works is because of the string wave and the magnet. You
Hmm.
don't max it out or clip it out. And that helps with some of the compression. So that's why some of the highs and transients come to the top is when you're actually moving that volume down a little bit. It allows those transients to come to the top, And it took me a while to learn the science behind it, but I was like, oh, that makes sense. And after a while, it just kind of clicks. But speaking of those $5 words, as I call them, because a lot of people are new players. So you have some hot takes on all these buzzwords like a transparent and stuff like that.
Yeah, and, here's the thing: as a builder, I have to market my stuff. But I've always felt, and a lot of my friends are the same way, is that market it obviously in a real colorful way so people can be excited about it. But there are some words that to me are they're dumb words. It's like transparent is the really big one for me, because if you took your signal and ran it through an O-scope, yeah, okay, that's about as close as transparent as you're going to get on the circuit. If you run it through an O-scope, you will know that it's changing. This is not transparent. I mean, is there a lot of change going on? Not as much, but it's not transparent. I like to say when I do, especially with the Canalia, I tune it neutral, meaning that I try to keep the signal in center line as much as I can.
So it's like a unity.
It doesn't. Yeah, and that's why I don't have tone stacks in any of our stuff. I'm trying to keep the signal path as short as I can, and I'm also trying to, the way I tune it, I try to keep it so when you put it into your amplifier, sure, you're going to get more gain, you're going to get this really cool compression, you may even get a little bit more of a mid hump than you're doing, but I can't say it's transparent. It's a silly term, it's like people like old carbon comp resistors, they're noisy. It's like, and they look cool. I get it. You make a fuzz and you've probably seen all those point to point fuzzes somebody's making, and they got the cool Sprague, electrolytic caps that are junk because they're 30 years old. You got these Allen Bradley carbon comps, and they're cool, but there's like a 10 to 20% drift on them depending on what you have, and they're noisy. And now you got yourself a new old stock germanium transistor. So you throw all that together, and if you're aware of what's going to happen, it's not a big deal. But if you're going in thinking, I'm just going to have this really cool, tight, clean, no noise fuzz, you're kidding yourself. You're not going to.
Yeah.
So but people do that. I mean, it's like, I have boxes and boxes of old transistors that I will probably do something someday for me or some friends, but I never ever really want to put that kind of thing into production, because once you do, you have to find them.
Yeah, so that's what you were telling me about, kind of like values, because on this, I love this pedal to death, but there was always like this noise floor that had that going on, and I didn't notice it until I started getting off stage and they forgot to mute my channel, and I'm like, what is that noise? And come to find out, it's because I have the gain all the way up on this just to get that transparent tone out of it. And that's but I'm not knocking the pedal. It's still like one of my favorite pedals. I just needed something that when they needed dead silence and like the preacher needed to preach, that's not humming in the background. So that was the reason for that for me.
That could be a little bit distracting, I would think.
But that's what you're talking about is component values. I mean, they do matter a lot. I know a lot of people geek over that kind of stuff, and I'm in a couple of forums and chats that guys, that's all they talk about is values, and I just can't hang when it comes to all that talk. But I try to pay attention and learn as much as I can, because I'm an eager learner, and that's why I always encourage everybody to learn and to mentor others. The ones that can teach. And that's
it. I mean, like, I'm not a mechanic, but I want to know how a car works, because then I kind of have an idea of what things I have to look for if the car's not running great. But if my transmission goes out, I'm not going to put it on blocks to take it out.
Yeah.
But it's nice to know that if I hear grinding and I'm not shifting well, okay, I know how a car works. That's my transition. transmitter.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is, values do matter, but they don't matter consistently. It's like old pedals. One of the cool things about fuzz faces is that you could grab 5 fuzz faces between 69 and like 73, okay? And it'll all be different. And a lot of the times it's not necessarily because the parts are, sometimes they just didn't have a 22K resistor. So they put like a 25K resistor. Or, Marshalls were like that. When they first started building Marshalls, they would just use whatever they had. It's like, well, we got these Drake transform, well, just use those,
Yeah.
And by doing that, they created sound like no one else had. And it was a lot of that stuff is by accident.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff today is more design oriented to that, but it's always fun to pick up something and go, I wonder what this one's going to sound like, because you're very aware of the circuit, you're very aware of the pedal, and when you plug it in, you're like, this is one of the Velcro type ones, not the smooth type one,
Yeah.
And it's the same circuit, same pedal, just different values, or
Yeah.
transistors, or got a different beta or HFE. I think that stuff's really cool. I could go down rabbit hole on that stuff too.
Oh, cool. But I think that's what our listeners and our other builders in the group, they love hearing that kind of stuff too. For me, I kind of think sometimes it's like the magic box with the cats inside, and you see the little producer cat, and the other one's like playing the guitar on the inside. I joke about that, but like a fuzz is like taking those 2 cats and throwing them in a bathtub full of water.
Yeah. And you can, there's like, some cool pedals that are like pretty subdued, but somebody wants to kind of have that tone or that vibe, and that works too. I like extreme stuff. I grew up listening to late 70s and 80s rock, going through industrial in the late 90s. I like a lot of stuff. So one of the few reasons why I have a pedal board is because I like playing different ways. And I know that I'm not going to get what I want with just this amp or just this guitar.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to beef up the Strat pickup. So I'm going to put an OD on there that's got a good tight bottom. And that's why I think pedals are so cool. They could take what you have and make it better, or even make it different.
Yeah, and the stuff that for me is like the experimental part, and that's with I know learning like some set standards, like you're saying, what you're doing is like making a preamp from the Strat into another pedal. It took me a while to understand that. I thought I was like, oh no, one pedal, that's dirt and it covers everything. I started learning you have to have a pretty good mix and understand where unity gain is on a couple of them, and that's called stacking, and that's what we do today is stacking overdrive. So I know that your pedals stack very well and well represented all over the place, but how long did it take you to, I would say, kind of figure out, that stacking things, kind of like having a double overdrive?
Well,
How much that mattered?
Well, it does matter, because you know what, this is the way I explain it. If you've ever played a plexi or a plexi type amp and you bridge them, because one channel's bright
Yeah.
and one channel is bass, the bright can be a little ice picky and the bass can be a little flubby. But when you jump them, you can control the tone on each channel. And that way you have this more fine-tunability to get the sound that you want. And I think stacking is the same way. You can have an OD that's really loose, but has a really great thing going on with the tone. And then you could put this more preamp type boost, even like pedal, and hit the front end. And it takes just a little bit of that looseness that you weren't real a fan of, but you still want to keep some of that characteristic. That's what pedal stacking is all about. My big thing is stacking ODs with fuzzes. To me, not enough people do that. You can do some really incredible, cool things if you just want to have an OD sound, but you kind of want it to be a little raw around the edges. Then, turn the gain down on your fuzz and run it into it. And now you've got this really kind of gritty, gnarly OD, but it's tighter than a fuzz.
Yeah. And the clippings are different when it comes to overdrive and fuzz too. I mean, I think fuzz is more wide open, literally wide open, like and the overdrives really just tame how wide open I would say a circuit is. And I found that out kind of with rehearsal space. That's usually like my test platform. If it can get over cymbals, that's what I keep. If I can't get it to cut through the mix, it doesn't matter. Like you can have all the pedals in the world. If it's not going through the cymbals and you can't hear every note clearly, then, I mean, it might sound great front of house or something like that, but I just can't hear it on stage. That makes me play worse in a way because I can't hear what I'm doing. I was like, I know where the notes are, but I have no idea what I'm playing right now. It's just like, I would say like just noodling at that point. I was like, I hope I played in scale. Like,
well, it's like when computers weren't real great and you had recording software on there and you had just a little bit of latency that would just really mess you up. It's kind of the same thing when you can't hear yourself on stage. You're playing the note, but you're waiting to hear it. So if you have to adjust a little bit. I'm playing a little fast. I'm playing a little too slow. If you can't hear yourself play, you're just guessing, and I totally get it. You should hear yourself. It's like for the longest time, and you probably were this way too, and I was, I thought the mid was like Satan, It's like, we don't need mids. Take the mids out. And not unlike the big muff, that sounds great in your bedroom. But when you're on stage or you're jamming, you're totally going to get lost. So that's when you learn that mid is really important. And obviously, I don't want to like turn down my treble and my bass and crank my mid. That'll be a little. But I mean, you got to have mid in your tone.
Yeah, I grew up with a lot of Metallica influence, and mids were gone. So the only way to beat no mids was to have more volume. So I was at blistering volumes on stage. Like every sound engineer hated me because they're like, you're at 120 decibels already. And this is like a youth group I'm playing at. So
and they're like, but I can't hear myself. I
was like, I can't hear. Put me more in the monitor. Like
well, and it's funny. Have you ever seen the documentary Year and a Half of Metallica with the Black Album?
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love the scene where Bob Rock is trying to talk to James on Sad But True. He's like, you need mids. He's like, I don't like mids. I'm like, no, mids will make this heavier. And he's a total non-believer. So he goes in and does what Bob asks him, and he goes in the control room and goes, whoa. You get an epiphany and you realize, mid is a good thing.
Yeah, and the layering and the down tune. And I was like,
absolutely.
They knew that they made Motley Crue sound amazing with crap gear.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I mean, not to knock on them. I mean, I do like both bands equally. But for me, like, I was like, mids, like that's the piano, that's the vocalist. That's kind of where we're at. So, I would say that kind of getting near a time here, but I think you quoted your influences. So what were you were saying mostly Jimmy and stuff, but what was your very first pedal? For me, my influence was that Zoom 505 I keep talking about. But what was your very first pedal?
My very first pedal was a no-name in a plastic enclosure, probably made in China. And this is probably 89, maybe 88. And it was a phaser, one knob phaser. And I thought it was cool because it made things just sound different. In hindsight, it was a horrible pedal, horrible pedal. But I think in terms of the first pedal I ever got that I bought, that I wanted, I'll tell you a story real quick. I went and got a tube screamer. Because everyone's like, oh, a tube screamer make your tube amp. Yeah. So I get a tube screamer, didn't understand what it was about, didn't like it. I'm not a fan for different reasons now, but the thing about the tube screamer, no, it's supposed to push you in front of your amp. So I took it back to the guy and said, I don't like this. He gave me a turbo rat. I had that pedal forever. I loved that pedal with the setup I had. It was perfect. You
Nice.
know, if I kept the gain low, it'd be really tight and chuggy. And if I cranked it up, you got a little unfocused fuzz going on there. It's a great
Yeah.
pedal. But that was my first one.
Yeah, the Rat. I've played a Rat, even the LM308 chip, big box Rat, and it's its own thing. It really is, and I had a lot of
It
fun
is.
with it. Nearing up our time here, Sean. I want to thank you today for your chat and all your wisdom on the signal path that you've shared with us and the shenanigans as always. So really appreciate that. That's the fun part, right? But
Yeah.
just giving you a second here. Is there anything you want to plug or got some things in the works
Uh,
or give a shout out?
we yeah, we got this little thing. It's board number 3. This is the first 2 I messed up. We're gonna have this fuzz coming out relatively soon. Um, Utilitarian fuzz, and I think people are gonna dig it. Won't be in a wood enclosure. I think we're just gonna keep the Canalia and the cherry box in wood, and then kind of move on to some other stuff just to make it more available, put it on the shelf, sell it that way. But yeah, so we
Nice.
got a fuzz pedal coming out, and if you want to see what we do, you go to www.lollygaggereffects.com. You can see us on the socials. We got a pretty cool IG channel, but yeah, just check us out. I mean, if you dig it, we'll set you up, and if it's not, that's totally cool.
Nice, dude. Yeah, and like I said, I always appreciate your mentorship on the channel as well. I just want to say that we have our gear channel at the Signal Path, and now with this podcast, like you're listening to Sean on today, I also have the YouTube. This will be on the YouTubes as well. Instagram and Facebook, you can ask us anything on there. We'll be glad to help you out with your gear questions. Remember, I just started a Patreon so it can help with offset some of the cost with hosting and things that now happen with the podcast. And that's just my quick adware there. And I appreciate your time on the channel today, Sean. It was always fun. You're always my favorite lollygagger, and I always like you for that.
I had a blast. It was totally cool. I
Cool.
thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks, man. All right, we're gonna say bye for now. Bye, guys.
Bye.